Hello everyone! In today's video I'll be showing you something a bit different, tortoise twins. I've not one but two different sets of conjoined tortoise twins and I'll be showing you how we separated them. Before we dive into the video, I also must point out that some people may find some of the content in this video upsetting, so it may not be suitable for squeamish, sensitive or younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised and please feel free to stop watching at any time. A word of caution, please always seek advice and guidance from an experienced reptile vet before attempting to separate the twins, as well as raising any concerns with them if you encounter any issues. The main purpose of this video is to share my experiences with you, as I'm hoping most people will find this fascinating, as it's not a very common occurrence, as well as being helpful to any tortoise breeders out there who may also experience conjoined or parasitic twins and want to know how to separate them. Okay, let's get back to the video. First, I'll give you a little background on tortoise twins. There are a number of different types of tortoise twins, as you can see from this slide. One type are those that have separate egg yolks, for example a double yolked egg, and these twins have their own egg sac, so in theory they are less complicated, and they should hatch and absorb their egg sacs independently of each other. There are obviously risks and complications with tortoises sharing the same egg, but some do survive and lead normal tortoise lives. Another type of tortoise twin is where they share the same egg sac and are conjoined or joined together. These twins will require human intervention to help separate them, so they have the best chance of survival. Conjoined twins can be where both are fully formed, or you can have one twin that's fully formed and alive, and attached to it is a partially formed tortoise that for some reason has stopped developing during gestation. The partially formed tortoise is known as a parasitic twin and is underdeveloped and not functional or viable. In other words, it's not a live tortoise. I've covered on this slide some of the other forms of parasitic as well as conjoined tortoise twins for information, but to keep this video simple, I'll just cover the twin tortoises that are joined together by the egg sac with the two different examples I have to show you. Next, we briefly talk about why this happens. Unfortunately, I can't find any scientific studies as to why this happens, although some people think it could be related to genetics, or an overactive male, or trace element deficiencies in the breeding adults, or some say it could be excessively high incubation temperatures. But as I say, I found nothing scientific to support this at the time of making this video. Now we can move on to the simple steps to follow to separate the conjoined twins. First, we'll start with the leopard tortoise twins, Ollie and Phil, and these were both alive and fully formed when they hatched, and these are Tank and BB's offspring. So step one is we wait for them to hatch, ideally without assistance, and here they are when they first hatch. As you can see from the photo, it isn't very obvious they're conjoined when you first look at them, and the only clue here is that there's only one eggshell. After rinsing off the vermiculite and giving them a shallow bath, I then place them in a clean tub and put them back into the incubator to wait for the egg sac to be absorbed. This is so it's easier to tie off, plus the tortoises can absorb the remaining nutrients in the egg sac before we tie it off. The next step is to tie off the twins. This is a two-person job as they wriggle around and you don't want to accidentally catch one of their limbs as you're tying them. Luckily, I have a very understanding partner who is right on hand to help me. I was especially grateful as both times this happened we were in lockdown, so access to other help was restricted. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to Chris Leone from Garden State Tortoise for his advice and help when we reached out to him. All you need is some dental floss, the unflavoured variety so there's no additional chemicals, and some gloves when tying them off to keep everything as sterile as possible. The plan was to tie them off in the middle here, then each tortoise can continue absorbing the same amount of egg sac once they've separated. When tying the dental floss, you'll need to make sure it's nice and tight and also do a double knot to prevent it coming undone. Take your time here and constantly check that there's no tortoise limbs that have wriggled in the way, and also check that you have the dental floss positioned where you want it. And slowly start tying. And there we have the first knot, nice and tight. Now we come in for the second knot. Again, nice and tight. Oh, and we've gone for a third knot here. A double knot would have been sufficient, but 3 will make it extra secure. Now we'll grab some scissors to trim off the excess dental floss. Again, be careful here to make sure you're just snipping the dental floss away. You can always trim the floss further away from the tortoise if it's easier. Then the twins are placed back into the incubator on warm, moist paper towels, and then we wait for them to separate. While we're waiting for them to separate, we'll be bathing them twice daily in warm, shallow water for about 10 minutes to ensure they're nicely hydrated. You can also offer them some fresh food each day, and also make sure the paper towels are changed each day and also kept moist. This is to prevent the egg sac sticking to the bottom of the tub. When handling the twins, you'll need to make sure that you carefully pick both of them up together to avoid pulling on the egg sac between them. Then, after a few days, the twins should separate, no mess, no blood, and all very cleanly. And then you leave them for another day or so until the remaining egg sac has been fully absorbed by each tortoise. If the dental floss is still attached to the egg sac on one of the tortoises, it will drop off as the remaining egg sac is absorbed. While we're waiting for the egg sac to be absorbed, the care you give the twins is the same as before, by keeping them in the incubator on moist paper towels and also giving them regular baths and food. Once the egg sacs are fully absorbed, the twins can be moved into their new enclosure. It's important to keep monitoring weights and overall health of each tortoise, and if you have any concerns at all, then please contact your vet immediately. Here are some photos of Ollie and Phil, and they've been named after my mum and her twin brother. And these are them on their first weigh-in after being separated. We have Ollie on the left weighing in at 9 grams and Phil on the right at 15 grams. Normally BB's hatchlings weigh between 19 to 25 grams, so Ollie and Phil are quite a bit lighter than usual for BB's hatchlings. And here they are again 2 months later. Ollie weighs in at 12 grams, so has put on about 3 grams. And you can see here that the egg sac has been fully absorbed and the shell has closed up nicely. Phil now weighs in at 21 grams, so he's put on about 6 grams since hatching. Again, you can see that the plastron has closed up as normal and he looks a healthy little chap. Although it's early days and we're not out of the woods yet, I'm pleased with their progress so far and I've high hopes that they'll continue to thrive. Of course, feel free to give them some love and encouragement in the comments section below. Next we move on to the second type of tortoise twins I mentioned, one with a parasitic twin. I first noticed something didn't look quite right when the tortoise was moving around in the egg as it started to hatch, as I'd spotted a black lump underneath the tortoise. But once the tortoise had hatched on its own, I was able to see what the black lump was, and it was another partially formed tortoise. As you can see, this parasitic twin is not alive or functional, so we need to separate them as soon as possible to ensure that the live twin survived. The process to separate them is identical to the one you've just seen for the 2 live tortoises. So here we are tying off the conjoined twins. Then once again following the same process as before by placing them into the incubator until they're separated. Along with twice daily baths, offering food and spraying the paper towels to keep it moist. For some reason these conjoined twins took a long time to separate, and in the end we tied it a second time, much closer to the live tortoise. After a couple more days they were finally separated. You can see here the dental floss is still attached to the tortoise, and this dropped off once the final bit of the egg sac was absorbed. And here is little CJ enjoying some food, no worse for his ordeal. And here he is again today. He's nearly 1.5 years old, and he weighs in at 161 grams, and he's doing really well. I hope you found this video interesting, and if you have, please click the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your tortoise friends. Thanks for watching.